Hi Danny,
Hello,
Namaskar.
Doctor. How are you? Namaskar.
Nice. How are you?
I'm very well, Doctor. Thank you. Nice to see you as always.
It's nice meeting you on this platform,
Indeed.
especially because of the importance of this day being in the celebration of the first ever historical monumental celebration of the birth anniversary of Dr. Raikesh Hammer as the World GNM Day. It's a happy occasion, an occasion of satisfaction, occasion of gratitude, because a large number of people have turned out to join our venture. When I say our venture, because Danny Carroll, whom you are going to meet this evening, is one among the organizers themselves. And Danny Carroll is specially in charge of the organizing of the first ever World GNM Day. So it's with these words, I am welcoming Danny to this platform, and I wish to interview you in this evening. For the sake of viewers, I would like to introduce him like this. Danny Carroll is originally from UK and now he is settled in India and he is a citizen of India for the last 26 years. It is with much pleasure that I welcome you to this August occasion. And here, Danny Carroll is having a lot of his experiences to share with us regarding his personal life experiences, regarding his professional and the way how he met GNM or GHK in his life, and how he is making use of this science, the latest ever new modern German new medicine in his own life, and how he is helping others also with this knowledge. So we are all going to listen to him, and over to Danny. You can speak. My first question to you will be, see, as I told already, this day is important because we are going to celebrate the first ever birth anniversary and of Dr. Raikesh Hammer, the originator of German New Medicine. Now it is also known as Germanische Heilkunde. And this day, we all wish to hear from you how you happen to discover this new medicine in your life. Yes, Danny, your time.
Thank you, Doctor. It's very kind of you. How did I discover it? I would say it took me 10 years of looking for it to find it, maybe over 10 years. I started studying in the general realm of health and wellness about 20 years ago. I went for a period in my life. I had a bad lifestyle. I got very overweight. I went up to 106 kilos, and I said, this is not good. So I started researching into health and wellness and nutrition and healing in order to try and to get my life back into some form of normality. That's where it started in, I think, about 2004 or 5. One of my colleagues, basically, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she couldn't afford the cancer treatment. So I run marathons. I ran a marathon in Mumbai, India, to raise money for her treatment, and I raised a lot of money. I funded her treatment, and she went into hospital, and she had 3 rounds of chemotherapy, and she died. And while she was in hospital taking treatment, she would message me And she would say, Danny, I don't know what these doctors are doing, but it feels like they're putting poison in my veins. And at that point in time, I didn't know any better, right? So I encouraged her quite strongly to continue with the treatment. But I was devastated when she died, right? I mean, I could never imagine it. When she went into hospital, although the doctor said she was sick, I mean, she looked fine to me, right? She looked perfectly healthy. And then within 3 rounds of treatment, she died. So at that point in time, I made a promise and a commitment that I would search the ends of the earth in order to find a better solution to cancer. And that's where my real journey into alternative healing really started. I mean, I studied so many different modalities. I studied energy healing and spiritual healing and emotional healing and nutritional healing. And I mean, I turned vegan for 5 years, trying to test whether nutritional healing was the holy grail that people were reporting that it actually was. And for me, it turned out it wasn't. I mean, I studied so many modalities, right? And then what happened is in 2012, I had an experience where for 6 months I had golf ball sized knots in my muscles, in my legs, in my arms, in my back, and I mean my body was riddled with these golf ball sized knots, and I was in physio. And the physio basically were ironing the knots out of my muscles. But when they do this, basically they use their elbows, right? And it's incredibly painful. And then I go back to the physio after 2 days and the knots come back again. And I had this for 6 months. And at the time I was dating a woman who she was a diplomat, and she'd been posted to Mumbai, and she was on a 2-year posting. And she was due to leave. So just a week before she was due to leave, her next posting was in Santiago de Chile, which is basically 10,000 miles and like a 40-hour journey from my hometown, Mumbai. So, which is crazy, right? I mean, nobody can have a relationship across different sides of the world. So originally we'd agreed that we would terminate our relationship, and a week before, the relationship still hadn't run its course, and worst case, we'd become soulmates. So we decided a week before, we sat down on a Friday evening, and we decided a week before that we wouldn't terminate our relationship, that we would let it continue and see if the distance relationship worked. And this is on the Friday evening, and on the Saturday morning, all of the knots in my body just disappeared. For 6 months, my entire body was riddled with like huge, great big knots. You could visibly see them in my thighs and in my calf muscles and in my arms and in my back and my shoulder, everywhere. And just by having a discussion with my then girlfriend that we would not terminate our relationship, Saturday morning I woke up, bang, disappeared. I mean, it was extraordinary. And this was 3.5 weeks before the Mumbai Marathon. I'd added like 10 kgs in body weight because for 6 months I couldn't run. So I was sitting down doing nothing. And in 3.5 weeks, I trained for the Mumbai Marathon. No knots, no cramps, no nothing. It normally takes me like 4 months to train for a marathon. And I completed the marathon in like 11 minutes short of my personal best time. No cramps, no injuries, no nothing. I mean, it was just an extraordinary experience. And I was planning at the time to, I'd seen this connection between the mind and the body. And I was planning on taking time out to do a PhD. I was trying to find a university that had a specialization in medicine and a specialization in psychology. And I was planning to build a bridge between the different modalities. Because of this cathartic experience I've had, I knew that there was a strong connection between the mind and the body, but I thought maybe there's a similar connection for cancer. So when I was in the process of looking for a university that could host such a PhD of this nature, in the process of looking for the university, I found Dr. Hummer. Now it's I mean, it's almost a crazy story, right? But that's exactly how it worked out, Doctor. I mean, I was planning to do what Dr. Hummer had done. I planned to start the research process to find the linkages between our emotions and our body, because of the experience I'd had with these golf ball sized knots in my body. And luckily I found Dr. Hummer and his body of medical research and medical findings, which meant that I didn't have to recreate the wheel. I just had to then learn how the wheel was built, which is basically what I've spent the last 10 years now doing. That's how I found Dr. Hummer and his medical research, Doctor.
It was almost like Dr. Hammer's life experience. You had
Yeah.
a very critical life experience, which turned your thoughts to the finding out of Dr. Hammer.
Yeah, we're all pushed in a certain direction for certain reasons, right, Doctor? I mean, we have personal experiences, we have personal challenges, and they're invariably, in my experience, they are there to guide us in a new direction, right? So, and this is the direction that this experience took me in, and as a result. But the interesting thing is, when I looked online, when I looked at Dr. Hummer's research, there was reports online. I mean, firstly, now I've spent sort of the best parts of a decade researching various forms of alternative healing. And what I'd learned from the past is that the more noise there is online, the more value there is hidden in a modality. Now, when I found Dr. Hummer online, basically there was this huge amount of noise, right? Saying that he was a murderer and, you know, he was being struck off as a doctor and all of this, like, really. And then you dig down a little deeper, and then you find these reports. Oh, he's got like over an 80% success rate in healing terminally ill cancer patients using a form of mind-body healing. Other reports say over a 90% success rate in healing terminally ill cancer patients. So what I'd learned from my previous years of experience of studying alternative modalities is that when there is somebody who has had great success, and for whatever reason the mainstream doesn't want that success acknowledged, then they attack the individual, and the more they attack him, in my experience, the more knowledge and success that person has. So when I saw Dr. Hummer and I saw this huge amount of murder and this and that, and I'm like, okay, this is real value, right? And then when I connected that to my personal experience of having these knots and then just like disappearing overnight, I knew I was onto something, and there was no way I was going to let it go.
Okay, thank you, Danny. After explaining your life experiences by which you came to know about Dr. Hammer science, and you are applying it in your life, you must have been using it in various occasions when you had met with several programs, so-called programs in GNM. That means some conflicts you had to face. And what are the occasions in which you could use the knowledge of German new medicine in your own personal life? What are the other areas other than the initial the experience by which you came to know about Dr. Hammer. There must have been several occasions when you could use this knowledge successfully to understand the program and to help yourself, etc.
Oh,
Please explain.
I mean, now we're 10 years in, right, Doctor? So, I mean, the list of my own health challenges that I've had to resolve is huge, right? But let me tell you about the first experience, the first time I used Dr. Hammer's knowledge, and I'll tell you about a more recent, more challenging situation I've had to face. So the first time I actually used Dr. Hammer's knowledge was in 2015. I spent a good couple of years studying Dr. Hammer's work before I engaged with any of Dr. Hammer's teaching institutes. So I didn't actually go for my training in German New Medicine until sort of 2014 and 2015. Okay, so I spent a couple of years studying it from afar before I decided to go in. Now, in 2015, early 2015, when I was on my way to Toronto, I studied under Ilse-Dora Laker, who's based in Toronto. When I was on my way to Toronto, I went via the UK, and when I went via the UK, when I landed in the UK, within hours of being in the UK, I started to get sick, very sick. I mean, I had crippling intestinal cramps and loose motions. I was on the toilet every hour, and this is when I was still studying German New Medicine and Germanisch Heilkunde. So that I'd never actually used the knowledge before, right? So I was in London with my parents, and this is when I got divorced in, I think, 2012, and this is the first time my new partner had visited my family in London. So we met in London, and from there I went to Toronto for training. So I've got these. I ended up for 3 days, for 72 hours. I had such terrible stomach cramps that I was almost like passing out with the pain, and I was on the toilet every hour, and it was terrible. So my girlfriend, then now wife, basically she said to me, "Come on, let's try and use this new knowledge that you have, right?" And I'm like, we can try it. I've never used it before. I don't really know how to use it. So, you know, we can give it a try. And she asked me 2 questions. She said to me, what causes pain in the stomach? And what type of conflict causes pain in the stomach? And when does the pain start? So in those days, again, my knowledge was fairly thin in terms of what I knew and what I understood, right? So I said to her that primarily the stomach pain is caused by anger, and for the most part of the digestive system, it's indigestible anger. It's a problem you can't solve, and the pain starts when you solve the problem. And my girlfriend then said to me, she said, "So what problem have we solved by coming to England?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And we were laying on the bed, and I was on the bed, and I was like rolled up, crippled with stomach cramps, right? And we laid on the bed for 1 hour talking, trying to. There was no family discussion, problem solving, any of that thing. Nothing like that happened. So there was nothing obvious that I could find that of a problem that we'd solved by going to England. So in the end, then I had that moment where, okay, I think I know what problem we've solved. And my ex-wife had a difficult relationship with my family, and it was both sides. my family used to fight with my ex-wife used to fight with my family. And it was that way for like, I don't know, for like 12 or 13 years. And in that period, I had irritable bowel syndrome and many other chronic digestive issues, right? And I'm laying on the bed, and I said to my girlfriend, I said, I think I know what problem we've solved. I think the problem we've solved is that my partner fights with my family, and we've solved that problem. And I was laying on the bed, and all of a sudden my stomach went gone. Okay, and I'm laying on the bed, and I said to my girlfriend, now wife, I said, the pain's just gone. She said to me, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know. The pain's just gone. My stomach just went dig, and now the pain's gone. She said, come on, don't be so silly. She said to me, I'm like, come on, I don't know. I've never done this before, right? I've got no idea what I'm doing. So we're laying on it. We said, okay, we'll lay for an hour and we'll see if the pain comes back. And we're laying for an hour and the pain says, any pain? No. 2 hours, any pain? No. Everything okay? Yeah. No loose motions? No. No pain? No. Just laying there, right? And I'm totally miffed, right? Because I don't really understand what happened. All I know is I used Dr. Hummer's knowledge and findings, and I consciously connected the cause of the conflict with the symptoms of the conflict, and bang, it just poof, just disappeared. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I've been on the toilet for 72 hours with crippling stomach cramps, and bang, gone, just disappeared. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, I couldn't believe it, right? It's amazing. So these examples are, I mean, I now have like 100 stories, right, that I can tell you on different crazy situations of which it still gives me goosebumps, right? I just can't believe what happens when you consciously connect the cause of the problem with the symptoms of the problem, bang, gone. It just like disappears. And I had another problem in 2019. I had huge pain in the side of my face. Okay, and the problem here for practitioners, the problem here is we have basically all of the germ layers here. So the pain can be both conflict activity, or the pain can come in conflict resolution. And without some diagnostic, it's you've got to go through a process of trial and error to find out what happens here. Anyway, I had a huge abscess, what doctors would call cancer of the jaw here. And the problem was it took me over a month to find out what caused the problem. And by the time I discovered what caused the problem, basically it had done a lot of damage in my jaw. And ultimately, once I found out the problem, and the problem was actually a 5-second argument that I had with my wife, 5 seconds, okay? And to make it even more difficult to find, this part of this jaw here, the oldest germ layer, the pain doesn't start until a few days or a week after the argument. So it's a 5-second argument that the pain doesn't start until 3, 4, 5 days after the argument has happened. So it was almost impossible for me to find what caused that problem. Luckily, in the end, I found it. But because it took me so long to find it, it did a lot of damage in my jaw. This particular part of the jaw, when the extra tissue or the tumor that's grown on the jaw, if it's removed naturally, it's removed with something called TB microbacteria. But when it's in your mouth, basically for 3 months after that, I then had both the taste and the smell of rotting flesh in my in my mouth and in my sinuses, and all my teeth fell out. Okay, so you can see all of these teeth here. These are all false teeth. So my teeth fell out, and my part of my jaw got destroyed. So I ended up having to have a 5-hour dental surgery and then 3 further surgeries after that, basically to do a bone graft on my jaw and I have my teeth replaced. Okay. Now, even that doctor, even that experience had some amazing learnings, right? When I had a 5-hour surgery. Now I've gone through many times and switched off the pain of stomach pain and neck pain and back pain and tooth pain and all of these things I've been able to switch off using Dr. Hummer's knowledge. But in my lifetime, I've never been able to switch off pain from physical trauma, right? It's physical trauma. But then I had the surgery. I had the 5-hour surgery. I had 35 stitches in my jaw because they had to do a bone graft and rebuild my jaw and put new teeth in, etc. Then, I mean, I took one painkiller at the surgery. I took another painkiller when I got home. Next morning, I woke up and I thought to myself, I wonder if I can switch off this pain. Okay. Now, you have to think, pain, what is the purpose of pain? The purpose of pain is so you do not use a part of your body so that it has the time, space, and energy to heal. Correct, doctor?
Yes.
So I'm laying there and I think, I wonder if I can switch the pain off from this surgery. And I'm laying there and saying, right, okay, purpose of pain is to not use the jaw, right? So I have no teeth. I can't use the jaw. My teeth all fell out, right? So I don't have any teeth. So I'm thinking, right, okay, I'll have a go at this. But basically what I did is I said, right, I said to myself, okay, subconscious mind, I know that I have pain in my jaw because I've had a 5-hour surgery and I've got 35 stitches in my jaw. I'm not going to use this part of my jaw. Of course, I'm not going to use it. I've got no teeth, right? So I'm not going to use this part of my jaw. Switch off the pain. And I'm laying in bed, doctor, and the pain from a 5-hour surgery, less than 24 hours before, basically the pain from that surgery, bang, gone. And I went through that entire process only taking those 2 painkillers that I took on the day of the surgery, and I never took anything else after it. Each time, if I accidentally push some food this side, and then you get the I'm like, okay, I've broken the deal, right? The deal is I cannot use it, and food has accidentally gone that side. So I pulled the food out and said, sorry, subconscious mind, I know I broke the deal. Let's go back to the deal. I will not use this side. Switch off the pain. Bang, gone, no pain. And I went through that entire surgery just only with 2 painkillers.
So
Crazy.
thank you for your wonderful experiences, how you managed your own body conflicts by the help of GNM. Naturally, at this stage, you will have a natural impulse to help others also who are in similar situations of life. So can you give some more experiences where you could be of help for others who are in similar situations, please?
Yeah, I mean, my original objective, doctor, was when Parveen, my friend, when she died, basically what I wanted to do was to help others. I wanted to save one life, to at least to help set off the bad karma of the life that I felt great responsibility for taking. For the last 18, 20 years, I've helped terminal cancer patients. I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? So people come to me when they get sent home to die, when they have no other options. And I mean, I've helped hundreds of people, and for me, I do it for it's not my business, right? I mean, for me, it's effectively a hobby. So I do it on it's not a commercial business for me. It's just something that I do to help others. And these are equally crazy stories, right? I mean, I had one 74-year-old elderly gentleman. Basically, he'd been told that he was terminally ill, sent home to die. Biopsy proven alveoli lung cancer. Okay, they'd taken a biopsy and had proven that the cancer was in the alveoli in the lung. So alveoli lung cancer, as you know, is caused by a fear of death, right? So I'm saying, and he also lost his voice, which meant he had a problem he couldn't talk about, right? So he came with his son, and it wasn't adding up. I was saying to his son, you know, what did he have that made him like fear for his life? And he said, nothing. Yeah, he's a 74-year-old man. He lives at home with me and my wife and our son, his grandson. He's retired. He doesn't do anything, right? So I took his brain scan. Dr. Hummer has taught us to read brain scans, right? So when I looked on his brain scan, in the alveoli that the doctors had basically said was the cause of the problem, there was nothing. There was nothing wrong with the alveoli at all. So then I looked in the bronchi. Okay, the bronchi, for those who are not familiar, the tubes that go down into the lungs, right? And there was huge amounts of activity on the bronchi. So that problem is caused by territorial anger conflict, right? So then I said to this guy's son, so then he's got a territorial anger conflict that he can't talk about because he's lost his voice. And I said to his son, once we got the brain scan, I changed track and I said, look, the problem here is territorial anger. He's angry about something in his territory. What is it? Anyway, we had 3-4 consultations, and what happened is, what turned out is that his wife came home from work one day. Grandson is the blue-eyed boy. Okay, the elderly gentleman's grandson, basically he lived and died for his grandson, right? Like many grandfathers do. And his daughter-in-law came home from work one day, bad day at office, bad day at work, came in and went whack and whacked the young grandson, her son, around the head for what the grandfather felt was completely unfair reasons, whacked him around the head and sent him to bed and said, go and stay in your room. Well, the grandfather was very angry about the fact that the daughter-in-law had whacked his blue-eyed boy, his territory, right? And once we found out, so we had 3-4 meetings, but I got the family together, we met and found out what the problem was. Basically, the daughter-in-law sat down, she apologized to the child. She apologized to her father-in-law. She said, look, I'm really sorry. It was a bad day in office. And, you know, this will not happen again. And within 2 weeks, he was back to full health again, and he'd been sent home to die. Okay, I'll give you another example. I had a lady, she'd had 17 rounds of chemotherapy based on a blood test. I think she got sent home to die when she ran out of money. Okay, and she came to me, and I took her brain scan, and I went through whatever little the doctors had said had happened, and there was no problem. I had to tell her that basically she'd been sent home to die. She'd been told she was terminally ill. I had to tell her that basically there was nothing wrong with her. The solution was just telling her there was nothing wrong with her.
After being so much convinced about the veracity or the truthfulness of Dr. Harmer's science, you should have naturally got these impulses or to help others. That is also being done. Now, what are you doing in order to raise the awareness about this harmless science among the public or among the people outside. Is your
Okay.
book written by yourself is an attempt for that? That also you can talk.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've now done 20 years of research, right, Doctor? I mean, from the point that I started, I've spent the last 20 years in looking for the holy grail of health and wellness, and I believe I found it. Okay, I believe that, and I know you also believe that with Germanic Numeric Medicine or Germanic Heilkunde, that it contains basically a blueprint for the laws of nature. Dr. Hammer has, in my mind, unraveled the biological code and given us a blueprint for both the cause of every disease known to man and basically then how to address it. I've spent the last 15 years working with people who have been sent home to die. My work, 99% of my work is only based with people who are terminally ill. I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? And this is not my business, so I don't go looking for patients to bill because it's not my business, right? And whenever I work in venture capital, and I earn my money outside of medicine. So what I've done is I've taken that 20 years of experience and particularly focused on my learnings from working with Dr. Hammer's medical discoveries. And I've just written my first book that I've titled Terminal Cancer is a Misdiagnosis. Discover a palliative care, alternative medicine that you can survive. Okay, and what I've done is I've put into that book my experiences of, I haven't put any of my patient experiences in that book because I firmly believe that you can only heal yourself, right? I can't heal anybody else. You can't heal anybody else. So my book is focused on the need to understand that you can only heal yourself. So this is a book that I've written that's based on my 20 years of experience of working with terminally ill cancer patients. I'm hoping that it's going to be published in the next month or so. And this covers the 20 years of my journey of studying, of trying to find a better solution for cancer and other difficult illnesses. And I'm hoping that this should get published soon. And this promotes the work of Dr. Hammer and all of the Germanic Heilkunde and Germanic New Medicine community, so that people can learn this and basically discover it for themselves.
That was great, Danny. And we all wish a very successful publication of your book, Terminal Illness is a Misdiagnosis, because that contains, I have gone through that book, and it contains much of information regarding Dr. Hammer's discoveries, regarding the programs or the diseases, so-called diseases, what exactly are there. Therefore, our purpose is to make the people free from the fear of diseases. And that was for which Dr. Hammer was also spending all his life in such a difficult situations. Anyway, we all believe that Dr. Hammer's effort to bring this great science or this knowledge to the attention of the public will not go in vain. So we all are together, joined for the celebration. And this celebration of the first ever World GNM Day is intended for popularizing this great science, and we together are there. I especially thank you. I especially appreciate you